Speaking with Alan Day, and we're going to discuss the new landscape of supplier collaboration. So, Alan, before we start, can you provide a brief background of yourself?
Yes. Hi, Dustin. I'm Alan Day. I'm chairman of State of Flux, which is a global procurement organization. I founded the company nearly 14 years ago, and we focus on supplier relationship management, supplier collaboration. We've got offices in London, Switzerland, Chicago, Sydney, Melbourne, Auckland, and a development team in Athens.
Thank you. My first question is, can you talk about what's happening in this space regarding supplier collaboration?
Yeah, we've been conducting research in this space for 9 years now, and what we're seeing is recently a change in the marketplace where you've got organizations being hit with the rush to digitize. You've got changing of roles, so the CIO no longer has a massive team underneath them. They're becoming kind of super supplier managers. Same with people like HR directors or even finance directors, where their teams are becoming no longer, and really they're outsourcing to key suppliers. You've also got, from a procurement perspective, a difference in value. So in the past, value was around price, whereas now you've got value equals price, but it also equals risk mitigation, innovation, and access to innovation. It equals faster speed to market. So you've got a whole definition change around value. So all of these things, as well as a political uncertainty where organizations kind of feel the pressure to collaborate themselves rather than have a government do it for them, is putting pressure, I suppose, on creating good, solid supplier relationship management. So we're seeing a huge step change towards people getting it and moving from traditional thump the table type supplier relationships to collaboration, partnering, and your suppliers are changing. You know, they're no longer a supplier; they're a partner, they're a competitor, they're a customer. So all of that fits to create quite a bit of momentum around supply management.
Can you talk about how it can be done effectively?
What we've seen, and we've seen through the research, and we've got now over 1 million data points on what makes good SRM. So we've seen that organizations need to do a few kind of building blocks in place. You know, without good contract management and good performance management, it's hard to get your foundations right. But really, we talk about the 6 pillars of SRM. Certainly being focused on the first one being value. So what is that definition of value, and can you articulate it? Can you sell it to both your organization but also to your suppliers? Second one being stakeholders. Can you get them on board? We know there's a direct correlation between being good at SRM and getting executive level support, specifically chief executive support. So if you can get that support, then will certainly SRM leaders get far more support than followers. The third pillar is around process and governance. And funnily enough, everyone tends to rush to that and write a supply management process without doing the first few pillars. So the first thing that we look for around process and governance is, have they done segmentation correctly? Have they defined what the treatment strategies are for those segments? And then develop the processes to fit those treatment strategies for each of the segments of suppliers. And then creating governance models that fit that. That leads nicely into the fourth pillar, which is around people and skills. And once you've developed a governance model, you'll look at roles and responsibilities within that governance model, competencies and competency assessment. So we again know that there's a direct correlation between being good at SRM and training your people, that the SRM leaders spend more time and money and resources in developing their people and focusing on those humanistic skills. And we have data behind what skills they tend to focus on. The fourth one is around technology. So how you industrialize these programs. We know that sort of 79% of key relationships are currently managed on a spreadsheet. I'll repeat that again. Of an organization's key relationships, nearly 80% of them are managed on a Excel spreadsheet, which has got to be risky. So to industrialize these things, we're seeing the emergence of supplier relationship management technology, and we think that the industry's probably where CRM was about 10 years ago. So we're now starting to see the SRM technology coming through relatively quickly, and that helps industrialize the program. And then the final pillar is around collaboration, and you could argue this is a bit of an output. This is where we want to see things like joint account plans and value release plans coming from those key supplier relationships. So those are the 6 pillars in a very quick snapshot. The books that we produce from the research each year are normally organized in those 6 pillars to help organizations put in place their supplier relationship programs and see what they need to do.
Do you have any examples of success stories?
Yeah, we do, and we're seeing. I mean, we've had over 1,500 organisations participate in the research, and our client base that we work with is about 1/10 of those, so about 150 organisations, and growing almost daily in terms of organisations we work with to develop their programs. We're seeing a lot of really great organisations in the FMCG space. And we've got some really good case studies with people like Mars and Kimberly Clark, who've done some fantastic work on their SRM programs. I'm a fan of some of the things that Harley Davidson have done on their program, especially their supplier board that helps them look at new innovation. So it's almost a formal board position that suppliers apply for. I think that's really innovative and pretty cool, actually. But equally, we're seeing people like in the UK, Royal Mail have a very solid program, and their use of technology is excellent on how it underpins their supply management program. So yeah, there's some great examples, not always from the industries you expect. And interestingly, the car companies, where everyone used to think was good at supplier management, tends to be good at it in the production side, but not so good at the non-production or goods not for resale area. And it is more focused on what supplier performance rather than supplier relationship management. So it tends to measure supplier performance to the nth degree, but is less collaborative than say some of the emerging industries that we see around FMCG or high tech. But each year we have case studies in our books, and those are also on our website. So you can read about Mars, for example, on our website. There's an interesting one from Allied Irish Bank, who are doing some good stuff around innovation. Telstra, the Australian telecoms company, has done some really good stuff around how they're using their suppliers to help their sales team. So there's some great examples, and please check them out on our website.
Thanks. And do you have any final recommendations?
I think, firstly, having a great sales pitch on what SRM is. People confuse it, and I made the comment about supplier performance versus supplier relationship management. I've written an article about that one a few years ago, and it still seems to be a fairly popular one. But actually being very careful around what is SRM and communicating that to your key stakeholders so that they understand it. I think that's something to kind of watch out for. The other one is around industrializing the program. I think everyone can point to one or two good relationships that they have with suppliers, but if you stand back and say, well, what is the supplier experience when they're dealing with us as an organization? Is it consistent? So if they come and talk to us in Chicago versus China, will that supplier get a consistent experience? And I think the whole point of industrializing these programs is to drive that consistent supplier experience so that you can reduce risk or harness innovation and so on. So those are kind of my key tips. But happy to talk to anyone in more detail if that helps.
And where can the audience find out more about your research and contact you?
Yeah, so our website is State of Flux, all one word, .co.uk. Just as it's spelled, all one word, State of Flux, and it's .co.uk. They can download the research reports, they can participate. Anyone who does the research gets a free benchmark to show where they are versus the SRM leaders. That's our kind of way of saying thank you for participating in the research. And as I said, we've got 9 years of data there, which I believe is unparalleled in this field. So there's a lot of insight that we can give them. So please have a look on the website, or they can reach out to me directly via LinkedIn or via our website as well.
And thanks for sharing today, Alan.
Pleasure, Dustin. Thanks for your time.